Alright, what's up guys? So in today's video I'm going to talk about the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification, and I'm going to talk about a few things here. So one, the difficulty of it, the things I did to study, and we'll just go over some of the content of it. I won't go too far into it because there are a few things obviously I can't talk about. There is a disclaimer that you agree to prior to taking the exam, saying you won't, share some of the specific things that you're not really supposed to talk about, basically. So to start off, so it wasn't too difficult, honestly. So it depends on your background though. So for me, I have a bachelor degree in computer systems technology. So it's not computer science, it's not super programming heavy, but I have programming experience in Java. I've done the basic front-end HTML, CSS, very little JavaScript, PHP, and of course some of the backend. I've done a little Python on my own, some SQL or SQL, however you say it. Minor database work, that's one area I want to improve on actually. And I've been working in IT for, about a year and a half coming out of school. But I've always enjoyed technology and IT, so it kind of, I don't want to say runs in my blood, but kind of does. What I did in order to study is, well, I guess I started with taking AWS Cloud Essentials, or Technical Essentials, something along those lines. I forget exactly what it's called, but I took that class. It was a one-day in-person class, and I found it very helpful. I went into that knowing like almost nothing, besides a few, S3 bucket, EWS instance, EC2 instance, small things like that. Well, those aren't small things, but basic things is the right word. So I went into it knowing very little, and it did a very good job of going over high level everything AWS is capable of, why you should use it, what's the best situation for you in terms of using it versus on-premises type of situations. So very helpful there. And then I took the AWS Cloud Architect, AWS Solutions Architect, that's the name of it. And that was 3 days. Those two were, I think, the biggest factors in terms of my AWS knowledge. Now I did do studying outside of that, of course, and I definitely recommend it. One thing is, I don't think you really need experience using it to pass the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. I have very little experience. I used it in the classes, a few things here and there on my own time, just trying to play around with it, but nothing too technical, nothing too crazy. Beyond those two classes, I looked over the AWS white papers, they call them, and it's essentially just like a very large study guide. And I didn't really look too deep into that because it is pretty boring. It's just one long PDF document going over each tool. And if you're good at learning off of that, if you're a learner from reading, I'd highly recommend doing that. I'm personally more of a learn by doing type of guy, so I tried to play around with it more than just read it. But I did look over that, I skimmed through it, especially a few of the services that I wasn't 100% confident on. Beyond the white papers, I actually had a Udemy practice test. So I would think this is something that somebody created for people to take and kind of get an understanding of how well they understand AWS at a higher level. There was actually a lot of questions where there were similarities, and a few of them were honestly identical, or close to it at least. So I definitely recommend looking at that. One other thing, I guess, is just kind of discussing AWS topics with other people. I have one person at work that has a solutions architect, and I kind of bounced ideas off him, kind of discussed things I wasn't too sure about, and kind of just had AWS type conversations, if that makes sense. What have you done in AWS? And he kind of runs down his build, his concepts, what he's done in it, and I kind of try to visualize, okay, you know, you made an AWS instance here in this VPC, all this stuff, and you know, you kind of try to follow it and maybe ask questions, obviously, right? So if you don't understand one portion of what he's talking about, ask a question. So that's a little thing. You know, obviously, I'm just talking about everything that I did. That's not something you have to do in order to pass. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is just who it's for, right? So this is a very high level, entry level, I would call it, certification. It is entry level, but it's very useful, I think. So it's mainly for product owners, I think, scrum masters, people who don't necessarily get deep down and technical with the work. They're more of like project manager type people, right? So those are the people that this is mainly tailored for, I think. With that being said, I think it's for everyone though. So I'm more of a technical person in my role. But I think one thing I read online is, you know, if you're looking to get further certified, maybe you want the Associate Cloud Solutions Architect certification, or you want the even more advanced professional one. This is definitely a good starter exam. One, because I think it'll give you a basic understanding of how well you truly do understand the platform, as well as it'll give you an idea of how their tests run, right? So it'll give you an idea of what kind of questions they ask, you know, how they format their tests, and even beyond that, you'll get used to the testing facility in your area, right? So you don't have to show up an hour early and just sit there, right? You understand, you know, how long it takes for you to drive there, all those other factors, right? So based off that, it'll build your confidence, right? So if you're looking to get further certified, like I just said, this will give you a nice little boost. Like, okay, you know, I got this one down. I understand these concepts. I feel confident in my, you know, in my studying. You know, you'll just feel good about yourself. You passed, you got certified, you can put that on your resume, all that good stuff. So now you just move on to the next one. I do consider this more of an accessory exam. You can't really get a job having this exam. I mean, maybe you can if you're good in other aspects, in other areas, but the way I think of it is you can't really just, hey, I have this certification, you know, can you hire me, right? So you need either a background in something else, some other experience to build off of, and that, you know, I'm not gonna dig too far into that. That's pretty obvious. I think AWS does a great job with their exams, their courses they provide for people, their certifications, and just the technology they use in general is pretty outstanding. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll be happy to answer it for you. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. And if you are taking that exam anytime soon, I wish you the best of luck. And until next time, goodbye.